I wanted to talk to you today about when to interfere, as it were, when animals are being born. I see a lot recently people peeling shells off of little chicks and pulling multiple babies out of sheep and goats and cows and things like that. Now, some of these people are experienced and they know exactly what they're doing and when to interfere, and some are thinking they're doing good and then they're not actually. If you interfere in the birth of a bird or an animal too soon, you can actually hinder the health or even kill that animal. It takes usually it can be quicker, but it can take between 12 and 24 hours for a chicken to hatch from a shell. You from the moment you first see the first cracks, it could take up to 24 hours for that chicken to get out of the shell. So if you peel away the shell too soon, you'll cut off the nourishment that chick is getting from the shell. It's still absorbing through its skin. And you also can make it more susceptible to dying, basically, as well, if you do it too soon, because that chicken is not ready to come out. So just be aware of that you don't need to interfere with say chicks being born if it is still progressing. If there is still progress happening, albeit a lot slower than you might like, then you don't need to interfere, and I really wouldn't. I would just let it happen. If you feel like it's not progressing, if the shell is not slowly still breaking, if the bird is not tweeting or moving around in the shell, if you feel that it's nothing has happened, remember it will be going to sleep sometimes in the shell. If you feel like nothing is happening, then maybe you can pick a tiny bit away. But the thing is if it's not strong enough to get out of the shell, it's unlikely it's going to then survive once it's out in the big wide world anyway. But I know we don't want to see an animal distressed, and we want to try and help it. But remember that that can take 24 hours. And for sheep and goats and things as well, that's much quicker than a chicken. But again, I wouldn't be interfering unless the mother appears to be in distress, and again that it's not progressing in some way. If the waters have broken, there's a head just coming out and a couple of front feet, then just leave it. It might just be that the mother's just needs to take her time, particularly first time mums. If it goes on for a prolonged period of time, say hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and nothing is happening, nothing has moved at all, the baby hasn't moved at all, then maybe if you know what you're doing and the baby is facing the right way and all of that, then you can try and help in a little way, like I had to the other week with one of my sheep. The head was out and the 2 front feet were out, but it didn't move past that for quite a long time, so I just helped with a little pull. But this isn't my first rodeo, and I was sure that was the front feet and the head that was coming out. If there is more than one baby in there, or if the baby is coming out backwards or something like that, then you probably want to get somebody else involved that knows what they're doing, so that you don't do any damage to mother or babies in there. I had a goat a few years ago that gave birth, a first time mother that gave birth to twins, and 1 foot of one was coming out and 1 foot of the other, and I had to push the foot of one of them back and go in and find the foot of the other one and the head and make sure it's around the right way, all inside the mini goat, and pull her out, because this had gone on for hours and the mum was really in a lot of distress. So anyway, my point is that I would only interfere if there doesn't appear to be any progression happening, and I would also, if the mother was in distress in some way, I would interfere, and I would also, if I didn't know what I was doing, which I kind of do by now, a little, then I would definitely have someone on call that you've agreed that you can call up or ring or ask questions to as and when the birth happens. Because if you're a first time, what would we call you? First time farmer mother, farmer, I don't know, maternity helper, whatever, and the animal also is, so they don't know what they're doing either, then, you know, it's good to have somebody on call that you can ask. I thought I could feel somebody watching me. And yeah, also Google it, you know, if in doubt, before you start interfering, Google, is this the right, you know, is this a normal amount of time that it takes a chick to hatch or an animal to be born, or, you know, should there be progression? Because we interfere, us humans, we always think we know best and we interfere with things way too soon, and we actually can cause a lot of damage. And, you know, most of the time nature knows best. Obviously there can be issues, and a lot of that is because our animals are living and eating in slightly unnatural ways, and that can cause a lot of issues with animals getting pregnant, carrying and having babies, and the babies surviving. So, you know, that's why we can get some problems, and more so than we would if all the animals would in nature. But most of the time we don't need to interfere. It's only sometimes that is the case. And, you know, just, I would be sure of what you're doing before you do it, because it can cause more harm than good a lot of the time. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that because I have obviously had some new lambs born recently, and I've now got chicks being born left, right and centre, and it just got me thinking about how us humans always think we know best when we don't. Nature knows best, and where we can, let nature do what it needs to do. If you have any questions or queries about any of that, please feel free to pop them below, and I will speak to you soon. Ciao.